Today on Quest for the Couch, we'll be looking at Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. This is a collection of content from Super Monkey Ball 1, 2, and Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. Now this remaster, this remake, whatever you want to call it, has been covered pretty extensively already. So instead of going over the entirety of the single-player content, we're going to be primarily going over the mini-games and deciding whether or not they're worth it on their own to add this game to your local multiplayer collection. Let's start the show. Hello and welcome back to Quest for the Couch, the show where we look at local multiplayer games. Today we're having a look at Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. If you're not familiar, the Monkey Ball series is a dead simple premise. You've got a monkey and a ball. You rotate the stage around to move him or her where you want them to go. The object of the game is to get the monkey to the goal on each level. Pretty simple, but the way these games gradually introduce challenge as well as bonus content leads for some addicting gameplay, at least in some of the games. For the most part, the only Monkey Ball games that have been in any way worthy of your time have been Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2 on the GameCube. There was sort of an enhanced version of these two titles, with some extra content in the form of Super Monkey Ball Deluxe, but that version had its own set of issues, especially depending on the console you played it on. But it was a decent game. Since then, there's been a lot of garbage. Anyway, let's get into what we're talking about today, which are the minigames for Banana Mania, essentially a remaster of Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. But we will circle back to the single-player content. Now, the minigames throughout most of the series range from great to terrible, and it's no different here. Alright, let's try to whip through these. First up is Monkey Race. This is a Mario Kart-style racing game. It's got a variety of tracks with different terrain. You've got single race mode, a Grand Prix mode, and a time attack mode. Honestly, it feels kind of sluggish. It looks totally fine. There's some interesting power-ups and hazards going on, but in general, I just found the feedback to be kind of sloppy. Everything feels so floaty and not very responsive. It's not that bad, but it's not that great either. Alright, for our second game, we have Monkey Fight. Both players try to hit each other in a ring for points. Each hit is 3 points, knocking a player out of the ring is 30. You can choose whatever order the stages come in, and you also have the option of doing a survival mode where the stage falls apart gradually. Unfortunately, the entire thing gets really repetitive. I do like that there are power-ups and some stage variety changes things up a bit, but it feels like a Mario Party minigame with a tiny bit of customization to it. A mediocre Mario Party game at that, and you're going to hear that complaint a lot. And unlike Mario Party, we've only got a dozen minigames here with no board or interesting mechanics to tie them all together. So they really have to stand on their own, and Monkey Fight just doesn't. For our third game, we have Monkey Target. I heard great things about this game. Apparently it was a sleeper hit minigame on the old consoles, but they screwed it up here. It's not broken like some people are saying, but man, it takes a minute to figure out, and that's not ideal for a simple, fast-paced collection of minigames. The object and method is simple. Launch your monkey off the rail, open the ball up at the right time, glide your monkey carefully as far out as you can until you hit the target. Close up your ball and have your monkey drop on a big old board with numbers on it like it's a dartboard. You try to drop your monkey on the highest number to get that many points. Simple, right? Well, you'd be wrong. For starters, when I played with Joseph, neither of us could even touch the scoreboard or even get close. We couldn't figure out why. The other games were pretty simple and they didn't have this problem. At least for most of them. It turns out you have to be very, very specific with your inputs to get it right. And that's just to even have a chance. You need to pull back the left joystick ever so slightly enough that you're going past the dead zone and the game registers movement. You have to hold that position with your thumb perfectly, then you can actually make it to those little dartboard islands. You also gotta release your ball much later than you'd think. If you want to make fun minigames with a high learning curve, that's fine, but no other game on this list matches anything like that, except for 1 or 2, which we'll talk about later. Fans of the original note that it wasn't nearly as frustrating. The developers didn't even try to add depth or complexity here, honestly. They just made it crappier from what it used to be. This would be a good time to mention that Banana Mania runs in the Unity engine, an engine completely different from the originals. So the physics and even controls to an extent are very different here, in a much more subtle way. But to a lot of veteran players, many have had a frustrating time with the new physics system saying it's worse. And honestly, modes like Monkey Target prove that something is definitely off here. Anyway, once I got used to the controls, I found myself slowly enjoying it a lot more, but even once I understood it, I still didn't enjoy controlling it. It was just awkward and unsatisfying. Game number 4, Monkey Billiards. This one is really fun. It's pool, but with monkey ball physics. I think when it comes to pushing stationary objects short distances in this game, everything seems to work a lot better. Me and Joseph don't play pool, so we got a bit confused at the start, which is why we're playing this so poorly, but that's our fault, not the game's. We were really warming up to this mode and having a lot of fun. It's very satisfying to line up your shot and score. This was a really satisfying game. There's not much to say otherwise, it's just pool, but it's pretty good. For game number 5, we have Monkey Bowling. This is another good one. The controls take time to get used to, as it's really easy when performing a specific shot to put way too much acceleration on the ball and land it in the trench. Or gutter by accident, I don't know what it's called, I'm not a bowling expert. Playing this, I can't help but want something more though. It's a fun game, but it just makes me want to play Wii Sports Bowling. For our 6th game, we have Monkey Golf. This one is excellent, and it was the highlight for me. At least part of it is. You've got 2 modes, essentially. Putt-putt and regular golfing. Putt-putt golfing is really fun. Again, it goes back to what I was saying about having something start stationary and then pushing it in one direction. It is really satisfying to play and get a higher score than your friends. The problem is that there's only one set of courses, and this hurts the hardest. We've got a lot of really mediocre minigames here and ones that are coming up, and I feel that they could have just taken 3 or 4 good ones and added a lot more content. Instead, we just got a mix of mediocre games and a few great ones in between. I genuinely like the golf mode in this one, and there's unfortunately no extra courses for me to play. Well, I said I liked the golf mode. I mean, I liked half of it. The putting is great, but the actual main golf mode feels terrible. You'd think adding wind, longer distances, and bigger slopes would make things more interesting, but no, it doesn't. In fact, it makes things worse. Like Monkey Target, I'm assuming there's some kind of trick to it, but I did not have the patience for this one. I had a frustrating time getting the ball going. It was really bad. Everything feels wrong, and I'm getting no feedback for what I'm doing, which could be said for some of the upcoming games that I'll mention. But golfing, this main mode, just sucks. Putt-putt is great. This isn't. For game number 7, we have Monkey Boat. This one's just kind of bland. There's nothing really to say about it. We're playing it pretty poorly here, but even when we were playing it alright, the game was just kind of mediocre. Just feels like another middle-of-the-road Mario Party game. Not great, not bad, just kind of bland. For the 8th game, we have Monkey Shot. It's your typical rail shooter. There's not much to say. A couple of hazards sprinkled in, you've got 3 different locations to choose from, some power-ups. A bit too simple to hold your attention. Not really worth talking about. For the 9th game, we have Monkey Dogfight. This one is pretty repetitive. You fly around and shoot other monkeys with a machine gun or a missile launcher, but the flight controls and weaponry feel extremely unsatisfying to use, and the game just barrages you with constant sound effects that'll make your ears bleed. I'd skip this one. Reaching the double digits, we've got Monkey Soccer. It's your typical soccer game. You control whatever character has the ball, and your opponents control the opposite player that's also close to the ball. Nothing feels super great in this one. Again, this comes down to more the physics and controls rather than the actual game itself. Alright, game number 11. Monkey Baseball. Good lord, this one is busted, even more so than Monkey Target. At least with Monkey Target, I could maybe wise up and sit down and figure it out, but with this one, holy crap, I don't even know where to start. It's somehow less complicated, but even more broken than Target. As the batter, you're supposed to hit your ball into the outfield and score points. You've got the other player pitching the ball. Sounds simple? Well, I wish it was. Firstly, no matter how many times we tried, neither of us could score one damn point. Secondly, the zone in which you can hit the ball feels like more of a suggestion. I swear I was intentionally throwing balls as best as I could, but they were registering as strikes if Joseph didn't swing. And if he tried, those hits would not get anywhere. This one was really screwy and unsatisfying. Downright broken. I've read online it's actually a common complaint that this mode is a downgrade from the original, and it has a multitude of issues. Maybe I'm missing something like I did with Monkey Target, but everything feels off about this one, even more so than the others. Alright, and for our final game, we have Monkey Tennis. This one is alright. Me and Joseph played on a team against the AI, and I will say the AI is fairly competent in all the attempts we've made to test them. So you're at least covered if you only got like 3 people and you want to do teams, and you need an extra person. Anyway, tennis is enjoyable, but like bowling, I wish there was something a little more. It's no Wii Tennis. That game had a lot of momentum and diving going on. Felt almost acrobatic. I really wish there was a dive button in this one. But overall, it's not bad. It's actually alright. Alright, so now that we've talked about the games, let's talk about our criteria. For Quest for the Couch, we go by price, the pick up and play aspect, and lasting appeal, and then we'll wrap it up in the conclusion. Okay, so for price, you're looking at tier 2. It's almost $30 for the game, and I think you're getting a good value when it comes to the single player. There is no online multiplayer for the minigames, but that's honestly fine as there aren't that many, and there's not really much incentive to build a community around this stuff anyway. When it comes to buying this game outright, you're getting it for the single player, as the minigames do feel lacking. A dozen minigames doesn't mean much if most of them are just kind of boring. Out of all the minigames I played, Billiards and Putt-Putt Golf are the only ones I genuinely enjoyed. Bowling and tennis are fun distractions, but everything else was kind of busted or mediocre. Single player is really fun though, and I did enjoy what I played of it. There's a lot going on there, which I'll talk about later. Alright, let's move on to pick up and play. With the exceptions of a few minigames, the game is all around easy to pick up and play for a newcomer. The physics could use some work for the base game and the minigames, but there are many adjustments you can make for the single player, in terms of controls, which is very nice. The game supported all of my Xbox One controllers out of the box, and it was super easy and quick to just get into the game, be it minigames or the single player. Sega did a great job making something really inviting and quick to get into, at least for the single player. The intuitiveness of pick up and play is really great here, aside from the 2 or 3 minigames that just were a pain in the ass to figure out. That being said, I've heard veteran players are losing their minds with the new controls as they've had to completely get used to it and undo their learning process for the previous games. And I totally get that, especially when the physics are arguably worse here, especially for higher difficulty stages. I really don't think I can develop a definitive answer without playing many more hours of this game and then firing up the original and playing that for many more hours. Still, I think for a casual newcomer, it's good enough and the control options they've added will alleviate some issues for players of all skill levels. Lasting appeal. This is where the game completely falls apart for the minigames. But first I want to talk about the single player again. You've got a staggering amount of content that's actually really fun and engaging. They packed all the content from Super Monkey Ball 1, 2, Deluxe, and then some. I feel for veterans, you'll get a lot out of the game once you get over that controller hurdle. There's lots of stuff and things to collect and stages to unlock. If you're the type of person that loves arcade-style games with progression of skill and constantly being fed new content, like it's on an almost never-ending conveyor belt to your face, well, this is for you. Personally, I'm not into a lot of arcade-style games, but I really liked this one, and I think the challenge is there. It's also just really enjoyable and simple enough that I want to just chill out on the couch and have some fun. The minigames are unfortunately something I won't be pulling out in the future, though. They definitely went for quantity over quality here, and I just felt like if they took, 3, 4 minigames and really fleshed them out, we could have had a really fun local multiplayer component. As it stands, there's just not enough content to bring the game out again in front of your friends to play with. But by yourself, it's pretty good. The single player is where it's at. So conclusion time, I can easily recommend Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania for its single player. It's a fun, challenging game with a lot of content. It's simple, but it is engaging, and that really matters for a game like this. However, as a Quest for the Couch game, I can't recommend you add it to your collection for that reason, or even as a selling point. The minigames just aren't of very good quality, so you're just better off picking this up as a single-player game and ignoring the multiplayer aspect. I wouldn't even use the minigames as an incentive to play it for a single-player game, and then just maybe sometimes break it out as a multiplayer game. No, just buy it for the single player. Don't even consider multiplayer with this one. And just fire up Wii Sports or Mario Party or even Mario Kart. Also, with the game not getting any content updates since launch, I highly doubt they'll fix or add to the minigames as they are. I hear the community is trying to fix up the game with modding, but I wouldn't hold your breath. Not to discredit them or anything, but without modding tools or a big enough community to really hammer away at it, it's hard to see any of the game's problems truly getting fixed. At least not for a long time and not without a lot of dedication. If you're a veteran of the series and you still can't get over the new physics and controls, I suggest looking at Rolled Out. It's in early access, but it seems like a Super Monkey Ball game guided by the community. Might be worth a look, it's on Steam. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching, I'll see you next time, I'm out.